Hello guys, what's up and welcome to my YouTube channel. This is Mail Glenn. So today we're going to be treating an interesting topic in finance. We're going to be looking at the financial implications of setting up a business. So if you're someone that wants to start up a business right now, or you are looking up starting up a business in the future, you'll find this video very insightful. If this is the first time you're coming across this channel, kindly subscribe, like and share this video. And if you are a returning subscriber, thank you so much for watching our videos. Thank you so much for sharing our videos and dropping your comments on the comment section. We appreciate you. So today's topic, we're going to be looking at the financial implications of starting up a business. So as you know, when you want to start up a business, finance is one major factor that you have to take into consideration when you're looking up to start a business. So the first financial implication of starting up a business, the first thing that requires you to spend money, the first thing you think about when you want to start up a business, first of all, is to register that business. So it depends on the nature of the business. Registration of a business depends on the nature of a business. So if you are running a sole proprietorship business, you will consider registering a business name. So you can register a business as a business name or as a limited liability company, and the cost implication is different. Like for if you are registering in CAC, if you are registering a business name on CAC, it's not more than 12,000 naira plus bank charges and everything. Actually, it's not more than 12,000 naira. Then for a limited liability company, it's not more than 25,000. But that depends on the number of shares. It depends on the number of shares. If it's for 1 million naira, 1 million naira worth of shares, it's less than if it's something like 10 million naira worth of shares. So it depends on the number of shares. That's for limited liability company. Then also, if you are considering registering a non-governmental organization, the process is quite different from just a sole proprietorship or a limited liability company. There are different things involved. You register with CAC, you have to get notary stamps, then you have to do newspaper publication, you might even need the services of a lawyer. So and the cost of registering a non-governmental organization is actually more than, when you add everything together, it should be more than 100,000 naira. So it depends on the nature of the business in terms of the price. So another thing that you want to consider when registering a business is the legal cost. So when you want to start up a business, it's advisable to employ the services of a lawyer so that they'll help you to structure your business very well so that you don't make any mistake in terms of registration. So you know all the legal requirements of registering that type of business. But this is optional, it's not something that is compulsory. If you can afford it, then you go ahead to do that. So another thing you need to consider when you want to start up a business is you want to look at licenses and permits that is needed in that area, in that type of business that you want to go into. So we have for filling stations, you need your DPRO permit. Then for if you want to run a bank, you need your permit or license from CBN. Then if you want to open a school, you need to be registered in the Federal Ministry of Education. If it's a university, it's NUC. Then for manufacturing, we have Standard Organization of Nigeria. You need to be registered there. So you need to get some certifications to run some kind of business. You need to get licenses. You need to get permits. So you need to consider that. You need to consider the cost implication of getting such licenses, because we know that there are some business that getting a license can be very tedious and expensive. So you need to take that cost into consideration. So another thing you need to consider is your location, the location of the business and the setup cost. So depends on the nature of your business. You have to consider the location. Does this business need to be located in a very strategic location, a very busy environment? And what's the cost implication of renting a shop in a very busy environment? You know that renting a shop in a very central environment is more costly than renting a shop that is outskirts of town. So you have to consider the location and the setup costs. You have to consider renovation and interior costs. So when you get your physical location, you have to set up your business in a very nice way that is really attractive to customers, even if it's not so the interior is not so on point, but at least it should be neat and it should look good, it should be attractive to customers. You have to consider the cost of furniture and fittings. If it's a retail business you are doing, you need racks, you need where to put your goods, where to display your goods. So these are things that you need. Even now, for a retail business, you need to incur, maybe you need to buy POS machine to be making payments. So these are things you need to consider. You need to consider the equipment and tools that will be needed for the operation of your business. So if it's a remote kind of job, or if it's a service kind of if it's a service that you're rendering, you might just need access to the internet, you need your laptop. So you don't really need to purchase some kind of equipment. But if you are into production, you will consider the cost of your equipment that you're using to produce. Like when I was into production of liquid soap, I had this my mixing machine, and that was cost to the business. So these are things you need to consider. The kind of business you want to go into, what is the cost implication of getting the equipment and tools to run the business. So if it's a retail business, you may need a POS, you may need your display racks and some other things that you need in the business. Another very important thing you need is your inventory. So when you're starting up a business, you have to consider the cost of your inventory. So when I'm talking about inventory, I'm talking about your stock. Like if you're into sales, like what you are selling is your stock. So if you are selling, let's say, frozen food, you need to calculate the cost of frozen food that you can afford at a particular month. Like like you need to set up a budget to say, okay, I want to start with 50,000 naira worth of frozen food that I want to be selling for this month. You have to make budget for that. It's very important. So you should not go into a business that the stock is very, very expensive. Like you are looking up starting sales of car and you don't even have up to 5 million naira. So how many cars can you purchase at a time? So it's going to be, for you to drop a budget in terms of knowing the financial implication of the business you want to go into, you need to consider the nature of your business. What kind of stock are you going to be dealing with? What's the inventory? You need to know that. So that is very important. You need to consider that. You should also consider your staff salaries. There are some kind of business that you need to employ staff. You cannot do it alone. So you need to draw up a budget for your staff salaries. It's very important. You need to do that for like 3 to 6 months. You need to draw up a budget for salaries that you can pay your staff for like 3 to 6 months. Just because you know that it might take a time for the business to start making profits. The business might not even start making profit in 3 months, 4 months, or 6 months. It depends. So you need to keep an amount of money. You need to set it aside that you will use to be able to pay your staff salary, so that you don't go and employ staff and you're unable to pay. They won't even, you will not be able to retain such staff, so they will not stay, they will leave the organization. That will cost you a lot, because when there's a high rate of turnover in an organization, it affects everything in the organization. You need to consider your marketing and branding cost. When I'm talking about marketing and branding cost, is that what's the cost of promoting that business? You're going to, when you start up a business, you need to brand the business in terms of your logo, promotional items that you need to advertise the business. You need to run online advertisements. So you need to consider this cost of running an online advertisement. You need to print flyers and billboards and whatever the case, whatever form of marketing strategy that you are employing, whatever form of promotional items that you want to put out there. So you need to consider this cost implication to start up your business. You need to budget for your running cost or your working capital. That is the cost of running your business, like the utilities, fueling, transportation, just different costs that you know that you incur in your business. You need to set up a budget for that, so that you will not be caught unawares. You will have money that you will use to run the business for like 3 to 6 months before the business starts making profit. So these are the things you need to consider. These are the things that you need to consider in terms of the financial implication of setting up a business. When you want to set up a business, you need to plan financially. You need to set up a budget. And these items I listed, you need to budget for these items. Thank you so much, guys, for staying to the end of this video. This is Milgling. Thank you so much for supporting Milgling. Thank you for your likes and your comments, and thank you for sharing and recommending our videos. So please drop a comment on the comment section if you found this video very insightful, if you found this video helpful in setting up a financial plan for your business. So thank you so much for staying tuned, and it's bye for now. Bye.